The woman used 50 years of her lifespan as collateral to buy a house, but the next day the house caught fire, prompting the company to take away her lifespan due to the potential risk. Now, the court arrived to enforce the decision, and the property company decided to forcibly seize her time assets. After the operation, her debt would be wiped. 2 nurses entered to prepare for the transplant, but due to Alina's unstable emotions, they could only administer a shot. Despite the policeman's great compassion, it was illegal to intervene. Alina can't resist, helplessly gazing at the person on the adjacent bed whose lifespan she'd inadvertently purchased, unable to prevent her own time from being taken away. Welcome to the AOVO Movie Recaps channel. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to a mind-blowing movie, Paradise, where humans can exchange their lifespan as currency. If you're enjoying the content, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Now, let's dive back into the recap of the film. The lifespan transplant proceeded smoothly, clearing their house debt. The penniless couple had to find a shared rental outside the city. Alina lay in bed, quietly sensing the passage of life. She raised her hand to examine her skin and, upon reaching the mirror, noticed the emergence of crow's feet around her eyes after just one night. Suddenly, Mike received a letter implying good news. Hoping for a resolution, he waited with devout anticipation, only to discover it was a promotion notification. Stunned, as the champion time seller who had brought the company over 300 years annually, he couldn't redeem the 50 years that belonged to his wife. Mike, infuriated, immediately resigned and returned to their rented place. As he opened the door, he froze. In the span of a single day, his wife had aged to 80. That same afternoon, after a doctor's diagnosis, it was revealed that his wife had been pregnant before the lifespan transplant. The child inside her had miscarried due to the transfer of lifespan. The two arrived at the countryside home of their parents. The aged father stood by the window, unsure of how to react. The mother embraced her elderly daughter, finding it hard to calm herself, feeling that the couple could no longer be together. Mike held on to hope, knowing who had bought the time and having a plan in mind. He stayed in town and spotted an elderly person in their 80s who still appeared youthful due to buying time. The underground doctor was cautious, insisting they wait until they were inside Lithuania. Being a former time sales champion, Mike was familiar with the slums. Through past clients, he managed to buy 2 forged visas and a gun with its serial number erased from the black market. After a long surveillance, he finally saw the wealthy time buyer leaving the house and heading to a cemetery. Mike pulled out the gun, revealing a stun device, and disguised himself. After a difficult struggle, he managed to knock the person unconscious. To mislead others, he left a mark of resistance organization on a tombstone. Bringing his wife to an abandoned car lot outside the city, they opened a door to find a girl lying inside. It was this old woman who had bought his wife's time. Alina had no intention of undergoing the reversal surgery, considering the other party had legitimately bought her time, and the house fire wasn't their fault. It took Mike's heartfelt persuasion for her to finally relent. They prepared to head to Lithuania. A commercial ship had already departed from the port, equipped with a tracking system capable of easily monitoring global social media. Soon, the AI detected an image and identified the commercial ship. As they neared the border, they noticed something amiss on the shore. It seemed clear that they were being targeted. In a moment of urgency, Mike thought of a solution. The authorities intercepted vehicles leaving the port, searching each one. They found a suspicious crate, inside of which was an unopened bathtub. Luckily, the two managed to narrowly evade capture. Successfully leaving the port, they apologized again before deliberately damaging the tires of another stranger's family. Alina looked at the frightened family, uncertain how to explain or when she had become a perpetrator. En route to their destination, the girl questioned why she was being kidnapped. Alina was perplexed. Wasn't she Sophie herself? The girl clarified that she was Sophie's daughter. They just bore a striking resemblance. They searched online for pictures of the woman and her daughter, only to discover that the daughter had died from an illness 10 years ago. The situation was complex. Before the girl could explain further, Mike interrupted, viewing it as a ruse. Even if they had made a mistake, the direct genetic match would still fit the transplant criteria. Unconcerned about the girl's explanations, Mike knocked her unconscious again. The group sought shelter in a long-abandoned hotel. Mike, still suspicious, zoomed in on the transplant recipient's photo. Taking advantage, the girl knocked him out, snatched the phone, and fled. However, she accidentally slipped and fell into the water. Watched from afar, she contemplated emulating a movie scene by submerging herself to hide, but realized she couldn't swim. Alina rescued her, noticing something odd while cleaning him up. Upon examining the girl, they found no surgical scars, proving her innocence. But Mike believed her quick recovery was due to her youth, attributing the absence of scars to frequent body modifications undertaken by women to rapidly rejuvenate. The company's security forces quickly located their target and received reinforcements from a subsidiary. Just as the couple had drifted off to sleep, they were abruptly awakened by a group opposing the time trade. Their leader entered, confirming Mike's realization that they had indeed captured the wrong person. Acknowledging their innocence, Mike requested the leader to let them go. The situation wasn't as straightforward. The leader knew Mike's history all too well. A top-time salesperson, the company's best employee of the year, specialized in deceiving genetically suitable poor individuals for the company, with even his wife once being his client. However, their love blossomed during their transaction. The company had expended considerable effort to finally find a person whose genes matched a buyer's. Mike had inadvertently taken away the lifespan that was supposed to be theirs. Anticipating their house purchase upon marriage, the property company had agreed to sell them a prime location in the city center at a low price, with the condition being Alina's 50-year lifespan as collateral. When they couldn't repay the debt, the buyer couldn't wait and set fire to their hopes, legally seizing the lifespan. However, their actions were equally ruthless. They had kidnapped an innocent person. As Mike attempted to explain, the leader disregarded it, brandishing a gun. Determined to survive, the leader gave an ultimatum: kill the girl, and they could leave. Faced with this innocent life, Alina chose to forego the opportunity to escape. Suddenly, there was a strong burst of light outside, and the company's security personnel had surrounded the area. The leader demanded that Mike use the girl to threaten the real buyer to show up and come inside, or else Alina would be killed. Mike walked out alone and met the buyer, the person who had actually taken Alina's time. During their conversation, the security personnel sensed that there were others inside the building. With the situation becoming dire, the leader had no choice but to initiate a backup plan. An undercover operative directly shot and killed the buyer, sparking intense exchanges of fire where no one cared about Mike's safety. He ventured into the building and eventually found Alina, releasing the girl who was bound, preparing to escape together. However, the girl made a fatal mistake, grabbing a gun and turning it towards Alina. Mike attempted to start the car, unaware of the situation outside. The girl pulled the trigger, but unfortunately, there were no bullets in the gun. Hearing the commotion, Mike rushed out and subdued the girl. However, Alina took charge, knocking the girl unconscious. At that moment, Alina chose not to expose the company's wrongdoing, but rather decided to take the time that didn't rightfully belong to her from this innocent girl. Believing in the girl's innocence, Alina drove alone towards an underground meeting point with the doctor. As scheduled, the doctor arrived, and the girl was ushered into the operating room like prey, prepared for the time transplant. Meanwhile, on the highway, she noticed a car filled with people, genetic matches from the slums. The underground market cared little about people's lives. Even young children were taken from the car. They were treated like power banks. Alina watched this scene with sympathy, but remained firm in her decision not to intervene. Later, the company spent a fortune to save the girl, and her mother had not died as the bullet was stopped by a bulletproof vest. However, the visible effects of aging rapidly manifested in the girl's body, causing immense fear. She pleaded with her mother to transfer time to her. As a scientist researching transplantation projects, she needed a healthy body to continue her work. By then, time transplants would not be restricted by genetics. Her mother promised to dedicate herself entirely until she found another genetic match for her daughter. 2 years later, Alina had regained her youth and conceived with someone else. Mike gazed at her far away. Having been apart due to differences in opinion for a long time, Elena turned around and saw him. Mike glanced at her and then turned away, heading back to the highway. Once a top sellers champion, he knew the company's operations well. Now wearing a mask, he had become a cornerstone in the resistance, determined to eradicate time transplants, not just for the present, but for the vulnerable.